It's Mr. Producer. Go. Mark Levin is, this is called Biden's Bloody Hands. Jesus. Calm yourself. Biden's bloody hands. Now, I'm assuming this is to make, they have a tough time. Republicans have a very tough time because they want to paint Biden as a monster, but they kind of think monsters are cool. Like Trump famously posted a meme video of himself. He retweeted it as Thanos, for fuck's sake. The character-wise, the greatest genocidal maniac in the history of the universe. Just, killed trillions because he thought things were too crowded, right? Meanwhile, Biden's supposed to be feeble, can barely walk, can barely talk, and all that stuff, but also monster. So that's the balance of it, because their own viewers are pro-monster. But this whole thing, I think, let's look at it. And he's still got his weird Trump cookie jar back here. And, he's never going to run out of copies of his book. Even though, boy, has that jumped the shark. Hold on. Here we go.
A video clip from Americans.
Mark, look up.
Afghanistan Fund started by John Ondrasik of the band Five for Fighting, which is actually a pretty well-known band. And
by you? No.
And he's quite the patriot. And this is a video called Blood on My Hands. Now, it can be a little tough to watch from time to time, I'm told. I haven't seen it yet.
I'm glad you vetted stuff before you air it on your channel. You haven't seen it. You hear they're very good, but I'm just going to play it. I haven't looked at it. What the... And that it's, what, got violent imagery in it? What's happening?
But I want us to take the time to watch it, and then we'll jump in.
Oh, us?
With the usual reprobates and so forth. But we like to make this show a little different. When we find something that's interesting, well, we want to run it.
First of all, how the fuck do you know it's interesting? You didn't even watch the goddamn thing yet.
Find something positive, particularly about dogs. We want to run that too. So let's take...
What is happening? What? Mark, you've totally let go of the reins. What's going on with your show?
Look at this. It's about Afghanistan. Go.
Oh, no.
Your own intelligence community has assessed that the Afghan government will likely collapse.
That is not true.
It took the Taliban.
Hold on.
Disaster unfolding very quickly. This is really an American catastrophe.
Catastrophe.
Secretary of State Blinken declaring this is manifestly.
Yeah. By the way, for the record, I can't play this because the audio on it alone is going to be there's a song, right? Is this? Yeah, same. Dude, look at that dude in the suit. I didn't even see him before. The dude trapped in. Yeah, we've all seen this shit. Dude falling off the thing. Right. Yeah, they found that baby, by the way. Good news. They brought it inside, and this guy didn't know where to take it, so he took it home, and he's been raising it as his own. And the Taliban was going to take over. Yeah. What do you think it was going to be any different when Trump's deadline came? Didn't he set the date? We just moved it 3 months so we could get the people that helped us out. Look at Levin watching this thing. Never seen this. Why am I not in any of these clips? Don't doze off on us. Oh, yeah. And there was a suicide strike. Right. On the civilian side, an Afghan military helicopter. Oh, RT. A good trustworthy source. Tell us again, Russia. What kind of world do you want to... Okay, that's the site he's playing it off of. We got to get these people out of here. These are the people that... Oh, by the way, Trump was supposed to... In that clip, Trump was supposed to... Oh, God. I used to think that Trump knew what the fuck he was doing. I'm standing outside using footage from the news. I always talk about, oh, fuck, dude, you're gross. What are you doing? Make a music video with dead kids. Look at this nut. I like pictures of dead Afghanis, and I know Trump would too. All right, hold on. Call off the dogs. Asshole uses a capo on the 2nd fret. Tune your guitar, asshole. You're doing a video. What do you think? You're doing a set? And like a bunch of dead Americans and a piece of audio of a Afghan dude who we wouldn't give the time of day. And this. Yeah, all right. And then he cuts away from this. That's the tail end. Some guy.
God knows what's going on there now. Horrendous.
There was a huge earthquake there. There you go. What's going on right there? Right? God knows what's happening there right now. Senior Taliban leader Zabihullah Mujahid says the group is looking to open classrooms for all girls by March 21st. Girls' schools across Afghanistan will hopefully reopen by late March. A senior Taliban leader has told the Associated Press, offering the first timeline for the resumption of high school for girls since the group retook power in mid-August. Speaking to journalists on Saturday, spokesman for the Afghan government and Deputy Minister of Culture and Information said the group's education department would open classroom for all girls and women in the Afghan New Year, which starts March 21st. Although the Taliban has not officially banned girls' education, the group's fighters have shuttered girls' secondary schools and barred women from public universities in some parts of the country. Again, Afghanistan is not a country. It's 12 tribal regions all stitched together. But this is a positive sign, I think. Girls in most Afghanistan have not been allowed back to school beyond the 7th grade since the Taliban takeover, and reversing this has been one of the main demands of women's rights activists in the international community for months. Education for girls and women is a question of capacity, they said. We're trying to solve these problems by the coming year. The international community reluctant to formally recognize the Taliban-run administration is where the group could impose harsh measures similar to its previous rule 20 years ago. At the time, women were banned from education and work in public life. We are not against education, they said, speaking on behalf of that ministry. In many provinces, the higher classes, girls' school, are open, but in some places where it's closed, the reasons are economic crisis and the framework, which we need to work on in areas which are overcrowded, and for what they need to establish with new procedure. Education for girls and crime. High school student Anzaret, who gave only first name, expressed doubt. I don't think they'll be able to reopen girls' schools because they have said so many things but haven't followed up. If they really open the schools again, it'll be the best for girls. I can understand why she would be dubious about this, but they're not going to get international help without it. They are not. I'm sorry, why is the blood on Biden's hands, dum-dum? Let's see. What else is going on just in Afghanistan? Harsh winter fuels ongoing humanitarian crisis in Afghanistan. This is also true of Uzbekistan, parts of Turkmenistan, to parts of Kazakhstan, which obviously we've talked about a bunch. God knows what's going on there right now. God and apparently UN people, like God and the United Nations, apparently, because they're the ones supplying stuff. Oh, and India knows. Sorry, all right, hold on 1 second. India, wheat, Afghanistan. See the because they have no monetary. Let's see. That's November. This will do. So they already did this, but India is sending wheat to Afghanistan for the to ease the hunger crisis there. Pakistan didn't want them to bring it through Pakistan. Taliban asked, which are originally from Pakistan, asked the Pakis to let them through, the Pakistani people or the government to let it through, and they are now. This was in November, and the Taliban is apparently paying people in food to do public works. Let's see, Taliban pays in food. I'm just going to probably find it in that way. Yeah, World Grain. Yeah, this is from worldgrain.com. Taliban to pay more workers in wheat. Fields of wheat. The Taliban administration is expanding its Food for Work program, which pays Afghanistan's public sector employees in wheat instead of cash. It's not just wheat. Wheat's a big part of it, but they get like foodstuffs and like a month's supply of food. So the program mostly is being used to pay laborers on public works programs, but now will be expanded around the country. Additional wheat donations have been received, including 18 tons from Pakistan, with a promise of 37 tons more, and negotiations are underway from India for 55 tons. It's not clear how much of the donated wheat will be used as direct humanitarian aid and how much will pay workers, but it's coming in there. So that's what's going on. Also, we're not there anymore. We are not in Afghanistan. We are not killing or being killed in Afghanistan. That's what's going on. After 20 years, we're out. And again, Trump ran on getting us out in 2015 and 2016, and in 2017, he's like, well, I don't know if it's the best idea. Maybe I was a little too quick to, well, maybe. That's what's going on there right now. And they just had an earthquake.
Things, horrific things. You see how they grab these young men off the street and they hang them by their necks till they're dead.
Well, do I? Which young men are we talking about? Also, how is this different before we got there? How is this different from a lot of other countries in the region? Were there no extrajudicial hangings of other Afghans while we were there in the last 20 years? Are you out of your fucking mind?
They do to the women there. You even saw some dead children because
yes, from bombings, fucko, from ISIS-K, from the pro-Uyghur ATIM group that is now giving China headaches. And also, we didn't stop those kind of things just by being there. They happened in other parts of the country.
Taliban really represents about, population-wise, 15% of the country, mostly. The far-off rural areas, mountain people, that sort of thing. And they've been trying to pose their will on the rest of the country for a long time, as you see. And
is this going anywhere? Yeah, mountain people. Just like Appalachia.
And they've succeeded. The vast majority of people in Afghanistan are not of the Taliban. They're not throwbacks to the 7th century. We now get reports that Iran is working with the...
No, they're throwbacks to the 5th century and the 10th century. What the fuck is your point?
Taliban in a very significant way. And we also have reports that Biden is giving the Taliban government, as they call it, the regime, over $300 million in aid.
Is that what we're getting? Are we getting reports of that? Let's see. Let me show you. Jump in here. Let me try here. U.S. And 300 million aid Biden, something like that. Let's see. There you go. Oh, so they're gonna They're going to give them cash, are they, Mark? They're just going to dump cash over there? Let's see. Additional American assistance. The latest contribution is. Oh, I see. This is what you're talking about? This is what you're talking about, dum-dum? This is what U.S. announced more than $300 million in Afghan aid amid winter disasters. The Biden administration provided more than $308 million in additional humanitarian assistance to Afghans facing food and water shortages, economic collapse, and other issues exacerbated by COVID-19. The latest contribution brings the total amount of assistance from Washington, Afghanistan, and Afghan refugees in the region to nearly $782 million since October, according to the National Security Council spokesperson Emily Horn. In addition to the money, the U.S. will be providing $1 million. And now, wait a second. Remember when I tell you guys about the third paragraph? You know, and sometimes in papers where they cut it a little slightly like thinner, it's like the fifth or the seventh paragraph, because they'll take 3 big paragraphs that a normal person will read and cut them in half to just keep you rolling. Yeah, remember I tell you about that? Let's keep an eye on that, shall we? In addition to the money, which is what they say in the third paragraph, money, just throwing money at it. We're giving it right to the Taliban, not to Afghanistan, like it says, to the Taliban. He's saying Taliban, all right. Is there a difference between aid to Afghanistan? We'll find that out in a second. The U.S. will be providing 1 million additional coronavirus vaccine doses through the Global COVAX initiative, bringing the administration's total contribution to 4.3 million doses. We're sending 1 million doses over there. There's 22 million people in the country, something like that. The new humanitarian aid assistance by the United States Agency for International Development, USAID, will directly flow through independent humanitarian organizations and help provide life-saving protection, shelter, essential care, winterizing assistance, emergency food, water, sanitation, and hygiene services in response to the growing humanitarian needs exacerbated by COVID-19 and health care shortages, drought, malnutrition in the winter season. Through independent humanitarian organizations, NGOs, not the now we might be splitting hairs. I don't consider the Taliban an independent humanitarian organization. Mark Levin probably does. Mark Levin probably thinks there's no difference between the Taliban and the Salvation Army. What's the fucking difference, right, Mark? The United States is committed to supporting the Afghan people, and we continue to consider all options available to us. We stand with the people of Afghanistan. Since the Taliban took control of Afghanistan in August, the U.S. and its Western allies, I thought it was just us. I thought it was just a bad idea by Biden, have attempted to aid the Afghan people by either flying those who wish to leave the country out or by directly providing aid groups with humanitarian funds. Where we go down here in this one? There it is. How do we go? Hold on. Slide this down. Can we blow this up a little bit? Come on now. Let's make it even bigger. Come on. Let's just say I have real shitty eyesight. Where do they go? How about this? This is for you, Mark. There you go. Since the Taliban took control of Afghanistan in August, the U.S. and its Western allies have attempted to aid the Afghan people by either flying those who wish to leave out of the country or by directly providing aid groups with humanitarian funds rather than the Islamist government. Rather than the Islamist government. Bringing us back to the most fucking tiresome, boring, and egotistical and goofy possible response by this prick that says that the United States government, on behalf of the U.S. taxpayers, based on who we elected last year, is dumping $300 million into the pocket of the Taliban. When we are doing precisely the opposite. just the fucking laziness of this prick. Never mind the fact that he's shitting on everyone in our government. I mean, you know, no wonder he played a music video with RT clips in it. Hey, Mark, on behalf of all of us decent, flag-respecting Americans, fuck you.
I mean, we've got the amateur team out there.
Do we? Do we? Because the amateur team actually got us out of Afghanistan. You do know that, right? 20 fucking years. Soldiers fighting in the last few years, born at the beginning. I mean, you got parents who fought in the Afghanistan war and their kids served.
Ideologues. They don't put America first. They don't put our allies first. And this is done.
Oh, yeah, that's right. They do not put our allies first. We just join with them arm in arm, you tit. Again, I can't tell if he's lazy, a liar, or just fucking dumb.
Grave damage to the people of Afghanistan. This has done grave damage to people who are suffering all over the world under regimes like this. And it's...
How? You mean providing aid for them? Just it's probably better if they just die. I mean, aren't they better off? Thanks, Mark. Way to be pro-life.
Do grave damage to the United States of America. Why do you think Putin and Xi and the Islamo-Nazi regime in Tehran and Un in North Korea has launched now 2 missiles? Why do you think they're aggressive? They don't fear.
The same reason they were aggressive when Trump first took office, to test the waters. Also, have those missiles of Kim Jong-un's actually exploded on impact, or have they just fallen into the sea oddly? I don't want to give too much away. But let's see. You know, one of the reasons why these North Korean missiles never seem to impact anything. You know, like we test ours, we test them on an island or something like that, and we check how the impact crater was and all that stuff. Remember those old Cold War videos of impact craters of all kinds? Did you ever wonder why? And I'm not saying this is why. Did you ever wonder why the North Korean missiles never actually make it anywhere? Why they kind of go up an arc and just fall out of the sky? They don't blow up in the sky as a test, like a big firework or something to show off. Anybody think? Oh, Navy shipboard lasers for surface, air, and missile defense. Huh. I'm sure it's just a prototype. We never have pictures of stuff that's, anytime we see a picture, we know it's brand new. Especially when it's covert. Any new weapon that we're seeing, video or pictures of for the first time, there's no way those have already been deployed for 15 fucking years. Oh, I am getting very Andy Rooney there, Ucamino. Thank you for warning me. I'll back down. Thank you. Thanks very much.
They don't respect us. And they certainly don't fear or respect Joe Biden. And the more he talks to them directly, the more nervous I get, because it's apparent to them what's apparent to us. He's incapable of being president of the United States.
Hey, at least he can read and figure out fucking facts, asshole. You just played a music video on your show while you're sitting in your fake rump room with your own fucking book title plastered all over the place with a fucking Donald Trump cookie jar. No tie. What's wrong with you? I thought I was the hippie. And you don't even fucking understand the policy you're decrying at all. You're not even trying. None of these assholes are even trying. I would have some respect for them. They're moving these things in. They're doing this kind of stuff. And I don't think it's a bad, I think because that's going to da-da-da-da. They don't even do that. They're like, I heard something about $300 million. Probably the worst fucking thing ever.
And so the media pushed Biden into the Oval Office, pushed his administration into the Oval Office.
I for the record, I am, I guess, media now, but I wasn't necessarily, I didn't qualify at the time. This show has sort of grown into a thing, but honestly, I was streaming on a laptop at the beginning of the primary. I mean, I was right about everything, but I wouldn't call myself that kind of media anyways. I definitely have been in media and will be again. By the way, tomorrow night, I'll be at the Whiskey on the Sunset Strip in Los Angeles, singing some tunes for the Ultimate Jam Night back after the whole COVID hiatus. And then this weekend, I will be at Cobb's Comedy Club, 21st and 22nd, doing some stand-up. 1 show Friday, 2 shows Saturday. It's going to pack. It's a last-minute show. I'm filling in for somebody else who ditched out, so tell your friends. It's still going to be a full show and a good time. And then Monsters of Rock Cruise coming up as well. So, multimedia, many people call me the new Howard Stern with just a better general odor. But still both cool hair, and I have a better singing voice. And if I ever did Buttman, the suit would be more flattering. I'm just saying in those general sense. Yeah, but I didn't push him in as media. I just did that as a comedian who knows what the fuck he's talking about and bothers to read past the headline on stories. It's kind of my thing.
Give it the kind of review and examination and reportage that is necessary to hold them to account. The Democrat Party's all in. They could care less. They're so busy trying to fundamentally rejigger and re-engineer our own society in this country in a horrendous way. They've divided us. They've weakened. You mean
with yeah, because it would change our society entirely if people in Toledo and Wyoming and Phoenix and like in Des Moines and Davenport, Iowa, if all those folks could drive across a bridge without worrying or didn't have to spend $1,000 over the life of their car because they drove over fucked up highways. Yeah, that'll fundamentally try. Jesus.
Us.
Thanks,
They undermine our military with critical race theory. They undermine our cops. That's a story you're well aware of.
Oh, yeah. It's not, obviously, Biden ran against defunding the police and was elected largely because of that. But keep telling it. I'm sure it'll work someplace.
And this is the situation we're in right now, a country that's getting weaker, a culture that is splintering, a civil...
Yeah, so, by the way, just because you're breaking off doesn't mean the culture's splintering. Just because you want to check out doesn't mean the rest of us are in that same situation, by the way. And I've done this before. And I know it's kind of a jerk move, like, see if I have this. Like, I'll have to look through all these other, let's see. Yeah, here you go. Hold on, just rando.
Mario, you're a great investor yourself. What do you think of market valuations where they stand right now, especially when you consider where interest rates are and when you consider what your alternative
By the way, I'm only playing this to annoy Mark Levin.
is if you're worried about inflation and keeping money in cash?
Well, I'm not going to keep money in cash. My mandate for my clients is that I'm not a wealth manager yet. We're migrating the public company into that methodology, but we are a equity manager. We're like the hospital for special surgery. You have a knee or a hip or some other dynamic. We take care of it. We're the best. So in terms of equities, we're saying the economy is extraordinarily robust. GDP in real terms is one thing, but my companies report in nominal terms. That is real GDP plus inflation. You were talking 10, 11, 12% growth rates in the economy. In addition to that, last year you had some, everyone became sensitive about costs. Even though costs are rising, they did examine costs, then they deferred CapEx. So the balance sheets and the cash flows year to year in the first and second quarters are going to look significant. Now, in reading annual reports, you get a lot more with regards to where CapEx is going and how it's going to increase. So I'm pretty optimistic about the economy. Then the first half of 2022 will be strong because, you know, they're prepping for the election midterms. And the notion of infrastructure, the notion of working on the climate with regards to transmission, the notion of putting money into making sure that companies stay onshore or reshore to the United States, those are all important elements. And then obviously wages will rise substantially. On top of that, the European markets
are taking a shit. What is he? Hold on.
Improve after we get the shots in the EU and the year-to-year comparisons there. China's already doing well, and they're 18% of the world's GDP. The United States is 24%. Europe is going to come back. And then you get, at some point in time, some emerging markets like India and Brazil coming back. So you got to...
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But according to... Sorry, Mark, what was that again? America sucks, and we're never going to be able to recover, and something shitty and bad. And by the way, on his off time, let's be abundantly clear. When Mark Levin isn't bullshitting his viewers on The Blaze and bullshitting people on Sean Hannity's show while he gets called the Great One and all that bullshit, lots of bullshit there. In between those things, he's a rich dude who has lots of investments, and he's watching this same shit and going, ooh, good. Ooh, good. Like, it's a friggin' joke. And again, this is like, what he's miserable about right here is not about the economy or the nation or any of this stuff, is that this guy is staring down the barrel of all of his predictions eating shit. That's why he's miserable. There's a single reason why Mark Levin is miserable. Is because he has to go to work every day and tell the same group of people that Biden sucks, America's fucked, and unless we get Trump back in there, the whole thing collapses. And he knows that's not a winning bet. He's stupid. He's not dumb.
And the delays and chip shortages will help the auto industry into 2020.
Oh, sorry. Whoops. Sorry. Biden is doing what he promised.
Decided it's becoming uncivil, and the rest of the world sees it, including our allies. Taiwan sees it. They are under grave threat from communist China, the way Hong Kong was. Israel sees it. They're under grave threat.
No. Hong Kong is attached to the mainland. And was always, and since 1999, has returned back to control by the mainland. Taiwan's not. It's a totally different situation. But please continue, asshole.
Iran and Syria and other enemy countries in that region of the world, it's bad news.
For more, sign up.
It's bad news, I promise. That's why I did a whole segment. Back up for a second and understand what this asshole just put up on his channel. Because this is his clip, not mine. They posted this. This is the Mark Levin show. This is their clip. This is called Biden's Bloody Hands. This is selling a fucking narrative that this guy wanted to put out there. So I didn't take pieces of his show. I didn't watch the whole show and then grab a chunk that I thought was particularly damning. This is a piece that he put up that's exemplary of the quality, content, and worth of his show. And it's ass. It was mostly a video that I couldn't play because of the music cues and all that kind of stuff, and was like snuff footage. What a creep. And then he didn't even watch it. He just filled the time with it. He just... Now, I don't pre-watch these videos mainly just because I like flexing on them intellectually and not wanting you guys to think that I pre-heard the arguments or picked clips where I already know I can dunk on them. because I think that's slightly unfair in this setup anyways. So I just, CSL presents these to me, and then I, because I watch other stuff, and then I just grab ones that I think will particularly kind of point to where the talking points on the right are going, so you can stare into the, the blinding light of it, and then go, oh, it's actually somebody blew this candle out a long time ago. So Levin posted this shit on Rumble as exemplary of his show and his channel about this stuff. And what it was 80% this fucking music video that he didn't watch until he was watching it live. So we got to watch this fucker do his pre-show work. And then he fills out the end with, remember Afghanistan? It's terrible. So I wonder what's going on there. Hasn't even checked. Again, no prep. Doesn't know what the fuck is happening. Hasn't been keeping up on it. Can't. Because if he keeps up on what's going on in Afghanistan, he'll recognize that it's largely, in terms of the United States position in the world, fairly good news. Is it a tough part of the world? Is there ongoing problems there? Yes. But that's true of a lot of countries. And Mark isn't suggesting we roll into fucking Ethiopia right now. He's not suggesting we drop peacekeepers and build a base in Kenya, is he? No. Even though you could argue that what's going on there is people in need of more help than certainly what's going on in Afghanistan even now. There's a full-on slaughters going on in those countries right now. But Mark's not suggesting we go in there. But suddenly, us not being there is bad, even though he supported Trump in large part because Trump ran on getting us out of Afghanistan. Trump set the date, got this dude out of a Pakistani prison, released 5,000 Taliban fighters who, all of whom have killed or tried to kill U.S. soldiers over the years. They kept their powder dry until we left. But ISIS-K and these other groups are going to be pushing back because it's really not a country. It's 12 tribal regions all stitched together by the bell maps. Are going to go back to doing what the fuck they've been doing for millennia. Wrestling for control and dividing up resources in a really difficult part of the world. And yet at the same time, because of because the organization, because the government we helped start, because the Afghans want to actually benefit from that skeletal structure, they need the international community to put meat back on the bones. And they're not going to do that unless they let girls go to school, don't kill people, start moving towards some sort of functional governing. But it doesn't require bullets and bombs. And we're not going to be a part of that. And we're out. After 20 fucking years, we're out. And I will say it again. The 13 soldiers that died and the others that were injured and the 250 dead there, although that may have happened elsewhere because it was ISIS-K fighting the Taliban, that's why it happened on the civilian side of the airport, because they were trying to scare people out of not leaving. The idea is that the Taliban might have let these ISIS-K guys get through and do this because they were worried about the brain drain, and all the smart people who knew how to run things were all leaving the country, and the Taliban might have wanted to stop it. So they were that's why they got through, is the theory. But not that they were striking us. They wanted us out. Everybody did. And we're out. And we're staying out. And that's a good thing. And that's a problem for him. Because all he's got to sit on, all he's got to carry is, remember that thing that happened that was ugly at the time? That was always ugly, that had been ugly for a decade without any benefit to us or the Afghans, didn't move the ball at all. Arguably 13 years that basically we were standing there holding a car up out of the mud while the tires spun for 20 years. And now we're out. Something Trump promised to do and couldn't do. You know why he couldn't do it? Because he was afraid to. Because everybody told him what happened to Biden was going to happen to him. No matter what, it's going to suck. We've been in there's no way you get out after 20 years without some mess. So he was like, fuck it. Let's just dangle. Maybe I'll do it when I'm leaving at the end because I don't have to get reelected. Push it. And he's even said the May date was bullshit. He said it at rallies multiple times. We've seen him do it.